Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're going to be checking out a brand new Pokemon in the world of Pokemon Go, Solgaleo. Solgaleo is a Steel and Psychic type Pokemon with the moveset of Fire Spin, Psychic Fangs, and Iron Head. And I am going to be trying it out today in the Master League. Obviously, I don't have a way to get XL candies for it, but I used a ton of rare candy to power it up to level 40. And honestly, even at level 40, it put in a lot of work in the Master League. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out Solgaleo in action in the Master League. Hopping into the first match, picking up a very nice lead, Solgaleo into Dialga. Opponent is going to save switch into Mewtwo, and I'm going to respond with my own Dialga. Most Mewtwo's these days I find are not running Focus Blast, so I tend to let the first charge move through. They fire off a Psystrike, that is perfectly fine by me, and I'm going to return fire with the Iron Head. Iron Head would do quite a bit of damage here. Mewtwo is going to be forced to commit the shield. I live a Psystrike from this range. A Shadow Ball should be lethal. I'm going to let this through, hoping they go for the Psystrike, and they do. That is incredible. They're forced to fire off a third Psystrike, and this should be farm down range for my Dragonite. And this way, I get an energy lead on Dragonite, so if they bring back in Dialga, I can go for the superpower. Opponent is going to wait their timer, and they bring in Zacian, and this is the exact core that Solgaleo is able to destroy. The Fire Spin Psychic Fangs combination is incredibly deadly to Dialga, and Solgaleo does have Iron Head to hit Zacian for super effective damage. I'm going to keep spamming out these Psychic Fangs, dealing more and more damage to the Dialga. I do live a Draco from this range, so I'm going to let this through. My opponent baits with an Iron Head, and that's even better. I am now going to fully Fire Spin down this Dialga. This may be a level 50 Dialga versus a level 40 Solgaleo, but Solgaleo does not care. Gets the full farm down and leaves with so much energy. I accidentally go over 100 there, and I'm going to go for the Iron Head, expecting them to call a bait. Iron Head is able to land, and now I'm going to go for the Psychic Fangs. They know I have enough for the Iron Head. They are forced to shield, and now I can bring in Dragonite, and a superpower at -1 should be enough to KO the Zacian. I will commit the shield on the play rough, continue to farm, go for the superpower, and this should be lethal. This may be a fairy type into a Dragonite, but on this day, Dragonite emerges victorious and secures the win. Tough lead in the next match, Solgaleo into Landorus. Honestly, Landorus is a pretty big core breaker for this team. I'm going to stay in this matchup to start and continue to farm up. I built up to the Iron Head, and I'm going to bait with the Psychic Fangs, hoping to try and grab a shield. Psychic Fangs does not get shielded. My opponent does have quite a bit of energy here. I do want to shield the first superpower, so I commit the shield, but I get baited with a Stone Edge. That is not the best. This is enough for a superpower, so I will commit the shield, and I'm able to shield the superpower. I'm going to try and overfarm in this matchup, but I accidentally farmed too much, and they're able to reach another superpower. A terrible start to this game. I'm going to switch in Dialga, snipe, but I'm down 2 shields, which is not great. They're going to send in their own Dialga. I'm going to farm up to the Draco Meteor, and then bait with the Iron Head. This way, they're forced to commit a shield, and I can start to get those shields back. They do commit the shield. That's quite nice. I just have to let this go. There's nothing I can do. I don't have any shields. They're running Thunder, and then they're going to send in Yveltal. Yveltal looking to reach a move, but Dialga is able to reach a last-second Iron Head. This Iron Head will do some nice damage. Yveltal is forced to shield. Yveltal continues to farm. Yveltal is going to fire off a Dark Pulse, and that works out quite nicely for me. I do have a bunch of energy on Solgaleo, as well as a full health Dragonite. I'm going to send in Dragonite. I do have to be mindful of a potential catch. So they're going to be firing off their Dark Pulse here. Dark Pulse will do a solid chunk of damage. I'm going to continue to farm. Aggressive switch into Solgaleo, and I'm going to be firing off the Iron Head. Iron Head is going to take out Yveltal. In comes Dialga, and now I can unleash the wrath of Solgaleo. They have to farm down, but Solgaleo is not going to let that happen. Able to reach 2 Psychic Fangs. This second one is going to be enough to KO, and that is a good game. Tough lead in the next match, Solgaleo into Garchomp. I will immediately save switch into my Dialga, and the Garchomp is staying in this matchup. They are taking a lot of damage to do so, and they're going to fire off a Sand Tomb. This will hit for super effective damage, but it's not the strongest move ever, so I am going to let that go. And then in comes Theory and Landorus, and if Landorus gets a full farm down here, this could be quite scary. I'm going to fire off the Iron Head and grab a shield. Landorus continuing to farm. They are going for the farm down, but not before I reach a second Iron Head. Landorus full committing at this point. point is going to commit both shields. They leave with so much energy loaded, and I'm going to bring back in Solgaleo. I do have 2 shields. I'm going to shield the first move, even though they're likely to bait with a Stone Edge. My opponent does bait with a Stone Edge. You really hate to see it. And now, you know what? I already shielded once. I may as well shield again. And I'm able to successfully shield the superpower. That's big. In the back, they have Mewtwo, so they are going to save the Landorus for later. I'm going to fire off the Iron Head, throw 1 Fire Spin, switch, and catch the Shadow Ball onto my Dragonite. Let's go. And now, the threat of a Dragon Claw should force them to throw their Psy Strike as soon as they get it. And if that's the case, I believe I should be able to Fire Spin down before they reach a second Shadow Ball. Psy Strike is going to take me out. In comes Solgaleo. Solgaleo is going to get hit with a Psy Strike, but Psy Strike is double resisted here, so it's not going to be doing a lot of damage. I'm able to tank it like it's nothing. I know they still have that Garchomp alive, and I'm going to start spamming out these Psychic Fangs onto the Garchomp. Firing off the first one, Psychic Fangs lands, aggressive switch into the Landorus, and the Landorus reaches a superpower. I lost count of Landorus's energy, and that may cost me. I'm going to farm up to the back-to-back Psychic Fangs. I need to hope that this will KO the Landorus, and the second one will KO the Garchomp. That will KO the Landorus. Can this Psychic Fangs KO the Garchomp? This is going to be close. Psychic Fangs onto the Garchomp. Barely not enough to KO, and that is a good game. Great lead in the next match, Solgaleo into Dialga. I am definitely staying in this matchup and just going to begin to do what Solgaleo does best, spam out these Psychic Fangs, applying as much pressure as possible. Psychic Fangs is able to land, continuing to debuff the Dialga. Dialga is going to fire off a charge move. I live whatever they throw here, so I'm going to let it go. They're actually running Thunder, and that does quite a bit of damage. I do want to save the Solgaleo, just in case they have a Fairy type in the back, so I'm going to fire off the Psychic Fangs and aggressive switch into Dialga. My opponent is not able to get to a charge move before I can farm them down, and they're going to send in Ho-Oh. I'm going to farm up and bait with an Iron Head just before they're able to reach their Sacred Fire. I'm hoping to try and grab a shield here. Iron Head does get the shield, and they're going to immediately go for the Sacred Fire. I will commit the shield, and then I plan to try and CMP tie the Draco Meteor onto the Brave Bird. I go for the Draco Meteor, but my opponent goes for the extra, and I'm not able to trap them into a CMP tie. That is a little unfortunate. They're going to continue to farm, and they're going to fire off a Brave Bird here. After they lower their defense, I should be able to farm them down with Dragonite before they reach their next move, and I am able to do so. That's big. In the back, they have Mewtwo, and I should be in a pretty nice spot here. I'm going to make sure to fire off the Dragon Claw before they're able to reach any kind of potential Ice Beam, and then after this lands, Solgaleo should be able to finish this match. They're going to go for a charge move. Works for me. I'm going to let that through. That is no problem here whatsoever. In comes Solgaleo. I am able to get to the Psychic Fangs. This is resisted, but it will be enough damage to take care of the Mewtwo and secure the win. Great lead in the next match, Solgaleo into Zacian. I will admit this lead is definitely trickier if you have a level 40 Solgaleo, which is basically what is possible at the moment, but at level 50, this matchup becomes quite dominating. I go straight for the Iron Head, that's gonna land and deal a ton of damage. Zacian is at the back-to-back charge moves. Since I am only level 40, 2 close combats would actually KO here, whereas if I was 50, I would be able to tank both. So I will be forced to commit a shield, but then I can farm down if they stay in, so they're forced to bring in their Dialga. I'm going to fire off this Psychic Fangs, lower their defense, and immediately bring in my own Dialga. And now, because I debuffed them, they're not going to be able to reach 2 charge moves. They're farming up, trying to reach the Draco, but I'm going to fire off the Iron Head. Iron Head gets them low, and I'm able to take them out. That's massive. In the back, they have Yveltal. Yveltal firing off a Dark Pulse. This will come very close to KOing. I'm going to let it through. I don't want to expend my final shield just yet. Dialga able to reach a last-second Iron Head, and that is massive. This should be grabbing a shield from Yveltal, and Yveltal on even shields is a lot less scary than Yveltal with a shield advantage. Yveltal continues to farm. They go for the catch onto Zacian. I'm going to send in Solgaleo. They fire off a charge move. That's fine by me. This is a range where I can farm down the Zacian with my Dragonite, and Dragonite will be able to reach the double charge moves needed to take out Yveltal. Yveltal is going to fire off a Dark Pulse. Perfectly fine. I'm going to let that go. And now I am at the back-to-back Dragon Claws. This first one is going to be grabbing the shield. This second one is going to be taking down the Yveltal as we're able to grab another win. Picking up a great lead in the next match, Solgaleo into another Dialga. Same game plan as always, stay in the matchup, spam out Psychic Fangs, and watch the Fire Spin damage continue to grow. I'm going to fire off this first Psychic Fangs, they're going to let that through and continue to farm. They're going to fire off a charge move just before I'm able to get to my Psychic Fangs, and here, I believe I make a mistake. I honestly don't like shielding in this matchup, because now I'm at a shield disadvantage, and when they bring in Mewtwo, I now am in the Mewtwo Dialga matchup, but they're up a shield, which is a pretty scary place to be. I decide to respect the potential Focus Blast, which is mistake number 2. Not a lot of people running Focus Blast at the moment, so now I am down 0 shields to 2, and I'm in a very tough spot. I'm able to grab a shield back from the Mewtwo, which is quite nice, and with no shields remaining, I just have to let this damage through. Shadow Ball is going to connect and do quite a bit of damage. They're going to be forced to throw a charge move before I reach my Iron Head. This Psy Strike is going to KO, and now I should get a nice amount of farm on my Dragonite. I send in Dragonite. Dragonite is able to get the farm down. They're going to bring in Dialga. I'll go for the Dragon Claw right away. I do have an Iron Head loaded. I'm hoping that a resisted Iron Head is going to be enough to KO here. Aggressive switch into Solgaleo, and I fire off the Iron Head. Please let this be enough. Iron Head, barely not enough to KO, and it's Kyogre in the back. That right there is the difference between a level 40 Solgaleo and a level 50. At level 50, that damage may have been enough. Kyogre is going to fire off a charge move before I'm able to reach my second Psychic Fangs. I just have to hope that Dialga does not have a move banked. I can safely farm up to the back-to-back Dragon Claws. This is going to come down to if Dialga has a move, I lose. If they don't, I win, because Dialga wins CMP. I go for the Dragon Claw, but Dialga has the charge move loaded. Even an Iron Head will be lethal from this range, and that is a good game. Hopping into the final match, picking up a nice lead, Solgaleo into Zacian. My opponent is going to save switch into Dialga, and they are core broken by Solgaleo. You love to see it. I'm going to begin to spam out these Psychic Fangs, trying to do more and more damage. I'm going to continue to farm. Dialga farming up. They try and go for CMP, but I get the extra Fire Spin. I let this through. They full send the Draco. It's not enough to KO, and I aggressive switch into my Dialga. They are debuffed, so now I get a massive farm down, and they can't really afford to bring in Zacian because I already have a loaded Iron Head. My opponent is going to wait their timer, and they're going to send in Kyogre. So my opponent not in a great spot here. I'm going to farm up and go for the bait, hoping to get a shield with the Iron Head, and I do. That is massive. They're going for the Surf, perfectly fine by me. A Surf is not going to be lethal from this range, so I'm going to let that go, continue to farm up, and this time, since I'm low, I will actually full send the Draco Meteor. Draco Meteor easily going to KO from this range. Opponent is going to let it go. They switch in Zacian, and I'm going to bait with the Psychic Fangs, hoping for the shield. Psychic Fangs gets the shield. I'm not going to make an Iron Head, but I will be able to make a second Psychic Fangs. This Psychic Fangs is going to land as I get taken out, and now it's all up to Dragonite. I have 2 shields, and they are double debuffed. I will tank any one charge move here. They go for the Play Rough. That does do a ton of damage, but Dragonite able to stand strong and reach the Superpower. Superpower won't be enough to KO, but it will get them very close. Dragonite taken out a Zacian again, and that is a good game. All in all, I was pretty impressed with Solgaleo in the Master League. Even at level 40, it felt like it definitely held its own against level 50 Pokemon. However, I am really hoping that Niantic gives us an opportunity to get XL candies, because this thing at level 50 looks to be an absolute threat in the Master League, especially when you commit shields. That Fire Spin Psychic Fangs combination performs somewhat similarly to Nidoqueen, where in 2 shielded situations, this thing can just continue to debuff again and again and really overwhelm some Pokemon. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you, as always, to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is incredibly appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.